It's a question that probably keeps countless parents up at night. You get a great new job offer, a chance to move to a new city, but then that big worry kicks in. What about the kids? Is this move going to mess up their future?
I mean, on the one hand, common sense tells us that moving is just disruptive, right? You're pulling your kids away from their friends, their teachers, everything they know. But here's the thing. What if that move is actually a ticket to a better life? A better school? A safer neighborhood? Today, we're really going to unpack this mover's dilemma. Okay, so let's dive right in. First, let's tackle that fear head-on. What does the evidence say? To do that, we're going to look at this really incredible study that followed a group of kids for, get this, a full 25 years.
And this was no small survey, believe me. Researchers in Chicago tracked almost 1,600 kids, all the way from kindergarten into their mid-20s. And they tracked everything, every single time a kid changed schools, to see exactly what happened to them down the road as adults.
And what they found, well, it was pretty sobering. A clear pattern emerged. The more often a child moved, the more likely they were to struggle later in life. And this was across the board. We're talking their education, their career, their mental health, and even their chances of getting in trouble with the law.
But here's the crucial part. It wasn't just if they moved, it was when they moved. The timing was absolutely critical. The study basically identified this danger zone for moving, right between 4th and 8th grade. Those really vulnerable years when friendships are everything and school starts to get a lot harder. Moving then was especially tough.
So, it seems pretty clear-cut, right? Moving is bad. But hold on, because this is where the story takes a really fascinating turn, all thanks to a totally different kind of study. A huge social experiment that kind of flipped this whole idea on its head.
All right, so let's talk about this massive federal study. It was called Moving to Opportunity, or MTO for short. And this wasn't about tracking moves that just happened. No, this was about intentionally engineering moves to create opportunity. The idea here was simple, but honestly, it was brilliant. Researchers gave families in high-poverty housing projects special vouchers. But the catch was, these vouchers could only be used to move to a low-poverty neighborhood. This created a real experiment, so they could finally isolate the effect of the neighborhood itself.
And we're not talking about a small change here. This was a night-and-day difference. Families were going from places where nearly half the people lived in poverty to neighborhoods where it was less than 1 in 10. It was a complete transformation of their environment.
So years later, when the researchers looked at what happened to these kids, the results were just wow, absolutely stunning. And they revealed the one critical factor that explains everything. It connects the dots between the risks they saw in Chicago and the new data from this experiment. And here it is, the big reveal. It all came down to one single thing, how old the child was when they moved. The exact same move, from a high-poverty to a low-poverty area, had incredibly positive effects for young kids, but it actually had negative effects for teenagers. Just amazing.
Just how positive are we talking for those younger kids? Let's put a number on it. The children who moved before they turned 13 ended up earning, on average, 31% more money every year in their mid-20s. A 31% bigger paycheck.
Let's break that down into real dollars. That jump meant an extra $3,477 every single year. That is absolutely life-changing, and it all started with that one move when they were a kid. So you have to ask, right, why? Why is moving at age 8 a golden ticket and moving at the same place at 15 a problem? It's not magic. The answer isn't about the move itself. It's about time. It all boils down to this idea that the researchers called duration of exposure. And really, it just makes sense when you think about it. Moving a child when they're young simply gives them more years to soak up the benefits of that new environment. The better schools, the safer streets, the role models, they just have longer for it to become a part of them before they hit adulthood. Okay, so when you put all of this research together, a pretty clear picture emerges. It's almost like a recipe for a successful move. First, move them young, ideally before they hit those tricky teen years. Second, it has to be a move to a genuinely better place. That's what fuels the positive change. And third, the longer they're there, the better. Maximize that time, that exposure.
So you see, this whole mover's dilemma isn't just a personal, stressful choice for one family. This research really suggests that a kid's future can be unlocked or sadly limited by something as simple as their zip code. And that kind of leaves us with a much bigger question to chew on, doesn't it?